Hello and welcome to our University of St. Francis online education programs info session. Our goal today is to demonstrate how USF helps students advance their teaching careers. Thanks everybody for joining us today. My name is Dave and I'm going to be moderating the conversation today. So what is it in detail that we're going to talk about today? Here's what we'll cover. We've got some fabulous speakers from USF who are going to share their expertise with us. And as part of that, they're going to talk about what the education landscape looks like in Indiana right now. What opportunities are available for aspiring educators? We'll get into detail about that, as well as USF's education programs themselves and how they prepare you to fill the need for teachers in Indiana, including a student teaching component. We're also going to share how USF's online student support can help you stay on the path toward that education degree and help you to advance in your career. And you have a chance for a live Q&A session. And so at any time during the webinar today, you can submit a question using the Q&A icon on your screen. Just click that, type in your question, and we'll get to it toward the end, but you don't have to wait to the end to submit your question. Anytime you see or hear something that intrigues you that you want to know more about, go ahead and click that Q&A and submit your question, and we will address it at the end. So with that, let's introduce our speakers from the University of St. Francis that we have today. The first is Juanita Oberley. She is Director of Special Education and an Assistant Professor at USF. She's in her fourth year at USF. Before that, she taught special ed at the K through 12 level for 8 years, including 4 of those years as a special ed director at a high school. During her time at USF, she has realigned these undergrad and graduate special education programs to meet the necessary accreditation standards. And so you can be sure that the programs that you're taking are of the highest quality, meeting those standards by accrediting body, by the state of Indiana, et cetera. Juanita got her undergrad from USF, so she's also an alum of the University of St. Francis. She got her master's from Ball State, and she is currently an online student herself. She's pursuing her doctorate at Indiana University. So her professional experience, her academic experience, as well as knowing what it's like to be an online student, she's got it all covered. So Juanita, thank you for being here today. We've also got Pedro Gonzalez. He is an enrollment coach at the University of St. Francis, and if that's a new title to you, Pedro will explain what an enrollment coach does a little bit later on. 13 years of enrollment experience for Pedro, helping students to do everything that they can to successfully begin their educational journey. Acting as a liaison for financial aid, asking admissions questions, requesting transcripts. Pedro's done a little bit of everything for quite a long time. He got his undergraduate at California State Monterey Bay, and he got his master's degree at Argosy University as an online student. So again, he knows firsthand what it's like to earn a degree online. And again, Juanita's going through that as well. So all of this relevant professional and academic experience hopefully will help you understand what makes the University of St. Francis's online education programs a great next step for your career. So with that, I'm going to turn the time to Juanita to talk us through that education landscape in Indiana right now and how USF can help prepare you to meet those needs. So Juanita, take it away.
Thank you. As you get ready to prepare and decide, is teaching right for me, it's important to understand what the education landscape looks like. So in 2019, there were over 600 Indiana teaching positions that needed to be filled during the actual school year. So there are jobs available, and that continues into this school year, the 2021 school year. Several states, and that includes Indiana, have seen surges really in educators taking an early retirement or taking a leave of absence, especially amid this pandemic where so many unknowns and changes in technology and platforms for teachers. And looking forward, there's a future for this job landscape. So there's projected growth for Indiana's teachers, and it's supposed to increase, by 3 to 4% through 2028. So we need teachers, and now is a great time to do that. So why USF? Why get your degree from USF? One, you'll be eligible for more job opportunities. Employers are always seeking advanced skills and credentials, and we get feedback directly from the current school principals and the current superintendents. So we have a group that we meet with on campus, and they provide feedback to the university as far as what teachers need to know. So we make sure that you have the proper skills. And leading into that, you'll get more experience and skills by having that balanced classroom dynamic, understanding different learning styles, and really learning to work with diverse learners. Our classroom landscape continues to change, so it's important that our teachers change with them and can meet the needs of all their students. And then finally, you give more to your students. You know, you go into teaching for the students, not for yourself, but it is a giving calling as an educator. So the more knowledge that you have and the more experience you have in your preparation to be a teacher, the better you'll be able at serving your students' needs.
All right, fantastic overview, Juanita. Thank you so much. Pedro, let's dig into these specific programs at USF. Let's talk a little bit about each one and how the skills that are taught in these programs help prepare students to be great educators.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. As far as the programs that we have here, you're going to have the Masters of Arts in a teaching education program. It can take you anywhere between 12 to 24 months, depending on your enrollment level as well, in class availability. In that program, like it says there, you're going to gain refined expertise in meeting each student's unique learning style and providing opportunities for long-lasting success. We just want to make sure that it's something that you can accommodate for your students, and that you have a better understanding, because not every student is going to be the same, but we want to make sure that you can be successful within your classroom in any of the programs. The Masters of Science and Special Education program can go from P3 to K6, 5th to 12th grade, or P to 12th grade, depending on what you're looking to specialize in. In that program, you're going to be able to work with special education, understand a little bit more about how the program works, so that you can apply it at your own school as well. And you can either do the special education in mild or intense intervention, or both of them, depending on what's calling you to pursue. You also have the transition to teaching programs that are not master's level programs. Those are a little bit quicker to complete, as you can see there, anywhere between 15 to 20 months, and it ranges from P to 12 as well. In that program, you have special education, elementary education, or secondary education as well that is available to you. And that doesn't mean that once you finish that transition to teaching that you can go into the master's program. If that's something that you want to look at, we can definitely help out with that as well. All right. So as far as the different programs that we have here, like I mentioned, you have the Master of Arts in Teaching program. And like Juanita mentioned earlier, there is we do have a curriculum that has a lot to do with whatever the schools around in Indiana are telling us that they need from their teachers and for their students as well. So the program is not something that we just put together. There's a lot of input that goes into it, so that we can make you as a student be successful as a teacher and as an employee of one of these schools as well. You're going to have a responsive classroom management. You're going to have as far as the instructional curriculum and design, you're going to work on collaborative classrooms in schools. You're going to work with diverse learners in today's classrooms. You have a research and technology proficiency, diagnosis and differentiation. And then as far as technology, I think we all know that there's a big challenge with everything that's going on. So we want to go ahead and make sure that you're up to date when it comes to technology, how it works, and the different things that are out there that can help you in the long run within your classroom as well. As far as the special education program, the master's program, same thing. It's a program that you're going to have a lot of input from around the state. So again, sorry to emphasize so much on it, but just know that it's something that we put a lot of thought into it, and not just the university, but employers as well, so that when you're ready to go out there, you have a better chance, and you have an insight as to what these schools and the principals are looking for as well. But in this program, you're going to be working on mental and behavioral health training, collaborative models of behavior management, foundations and exceptionalities. The curriculum again is going to be very, very well designed. Juanita has a lot to do with this, but you have language and social skills topics, literacy topics. We all know that there's a lot of things that we need to work with our special ed students, and those are some of the bigger ones. Just that communication aspect of it is a big part of it. The teaching methods. There's going to be a lot of research that is going to go into the master's programs, statistics as well, because we want to make sure that you're prepared for not only to be a teacher, but also what's out there, what kind of research is out there that can help you be innovative and help your students grow as well. You have, again, technology applications and research topics that you're going to explore within the program. Transition to teaching, it's the bigger part of this is if you want to go ahead and get licensed and you want to go ahead and get these classes a little bit quicker, so that you can start teaching earlier. This is a program that you can go into. A lot of the concepts are going to be very similar to the master's program, so there's no difference there. You're going to get the same type of quality education in it. Again, the biggest difference is that there's less classes in that program, so you'll finish earlier, but you're still working with inclusive content assessment, reading methods. You're still going to have that internship and practicum in this program, and you're still going to be working on the classroom management skills so that you can have a better understanding of how to run your classroom. And that's a big part where you're going to apply your internship and your practicum to teaching in person. That will eventually help you out and help you be more comfortable when it comes to that as well.
All right, Pedro, thanks for that overview of the programs. And Juanita, Pedro's talking about kind of what they're going to learn in the classroom, but there's an out of classroom, or at least out of the online classroom component to this. So let's dig a little bit more about student teaching, clinical internship. Tell us a little more about that aspect of these programs.
Absolutely. So a question we frequently get is, this is an online program, so how do I get my classroom teaching experience? So one of the things that we do in our courses is you will peer teach. So your instructor might have you teaching up here in your classroom just to get your feet wet and with actual teaching, but then you actually have real world experiences with a practicum and then a clinical internship. So during the practicum experience, you do 120 hours in a classroom, and that classroom is specifically selected to meet your goals and your licensing area. So for example, if you want to be a 7th grade special ed teacher, you would be placed in a middle school special ed placement. If you want to be a high school English teacher, you would be placed in that English classroom. So it really comes down to your program and what licensing area you'll be looking at. Once you finish the practicum successfully, and you'll do that with support from a cooperating teacher and a supervisor from the university, you'll move on into your student teaching or your clinical internship. And clinical internship, this is where all the fun and the magic happens. So essentially all of that coursework that you've been doing, all of the practice with teaching, learning the skills, learning the knowledge, then you apply it. So then you actually get to teach. And that is a 16-week full-time teaching experience. It is not paid, but that's part of the student teaching experience where you really get to hone in and master the skills and the knowledge that you've learned throughout the program. So something about this that's important to understand is that we do have a director of field experience here at the university, and he will work with you on where you need to be placed, what area of the state you're in, or throughout the country, as far as what school district he'd be assigned to. So he will work with you on that. So it really is a smooth application process to make sure that you get the experience that you need to be a successful teacher.
All right, fantastic. Thank you for that, Juanita. And then Pedro, I know, and you know that students aren't going to have to do this journey alone. The idea, that you're thinking you're in an online classroom, I'm kind of isolated, I'm going to be by myself, but that's not the case at the University of St. Francis. There's a great student support team that is available to help people as they pursue their education degree. So tell us a little bit more about the kind of support the students can expect online.
Yeah. Yeah. So before we get to that magical point of teaching, like what Juanita was saying, and there's a whole process that you're going to be able to work with an individual like myself, an enrollment coach, where we're going to figure out exactly what program it is that is better suited for you based on what you're trying to accomplish based on your goals. Um, so there's other enrollment coaches that I work with that you'll be paired up with. Um, and that's our sole purpose, is to make sure that we can help you first figure out what program you want to go into, answer any questions that you may have. Then we start working on the enrollment process with the admissions application. We work with you on ordering your transcripts. We have a transcript specialist that will work with us on that, and they'll figure out if it's something that we can help you out with as far as ordering, or if your school wants you to go ahead and place the order yourself. Once we gather all that information, we send you over for admittance consideration. Once they come back and they say, yes, your student has been admitted, then you'll be paired up with a success coach. And this success coach will be working with you until graduation as well. They'll work with you on your schedule. They'll work with you on anything that is academically related. And we'll get you registered for classes. Once you're registered for classes, then we work with a financial aid advisor that will put together a financial plan based on your current schedule that you have, whether it's part-time, full-time, whatever the case may be. Then you start working with Juanita and her team as well. You start working on your classes, and at the same time, you have access to the career and resource guide department. That way they can help you out with anything that you need career-wise, whether it's your resume, whether it's um, doing like a mock interview, and different things like that. What is out there as far as jobs that you might be interested in? So it's a full team that is going to be working with you from the very beginning until the time that you graduate, and even beyond that with the career and services department as well.
All right, that is all great. Pedro, thank you so much for sharing. So we're just about time for the Q&A portion of the program today. But before we get into that, just a couple of quick reminders. So our next start date for these classes is March 8th, and that's going to come up sooner than you might think. And so if you have a genuine interest in these programs, now's the time to act on that interest and start experiencing the level of support that Pedro was just talking about by being a part of this team and selecting which of these education programs is the right fit for you and your career goals. And obviously we'll go over some questions here, but we'd love to also dig into your specific situation and help you find the right program for you. So you can do that by giving us a call, 888-811-3823, or sending us an email, info@online.sf.edu. We're going to put those in the chat as well so that you've got easy access to that. We also invite you, if you know anybody else who may be interested in these programs, share this webinar with a friend. We're going to be posting it on YouTube and sending out that link to those of you who have attended. And so you're welcome to pass it along to anybody else who's interested in these programs. So now let's move on to the Q&A portion of the program again. Today, again, if you joined us a little bit late, that's fine. You can just click the Q&A icon on your screen and you can type in your question. I already see some questions available for us. And so let's just kind of jump right in. Juanita, I'm going to start with you. You obviously talked about that student teaching experience. What impact has COVID had on student teaching? We know you've got some students that are face-to-face, you've got some that are online. Talk about the impact of COVID-19 on student teaching and whether it's even still available to do if a school or a class or a grade level is online. So tell us a little bit about that.
Right. So a critical part of your program is actually the clinical internship. So even if schools transition online, you will still be actively engaged in that. So you'll be helping the teacher put content on a website or a learning management system. You'll be involved in maybe a virtual teaching situation by Zoom or Microsoft Teams. So there are accommodations in place, and you'll work with your university supervisor to see what the best steps are for you and how you can still be actively engaged. But the expectation is that you still fully adapt to whatever the school system that you're placed in is, whatever they're doing. Being a teacher requires you to be super flexible. So COVID has definitely taught us that, even at the university level. So you'll work with your supervisor, you'll work with your cooperating teacher, but you still get that full experience. It just might look a little different than the typical face-to-face experience.
Okay, thanks for that, Juanita. And another quick question on student teaching. Say you've got a student teaching candidate who has a child of age in a particular school. Is it possible that person could student teach at their child's school? Is that a possibility?
Right. We have had candidates student teach at their child's school. Typically, we try to avoid the same grade level, so they're not actually teaching their child, but the same school is definitely a possibility. And that comes into play when you work with the director of field experience and you are getting assigned to your school district.
All right, that sounds great. Thanks for that, Juanita. Pedro, I'm going to send this next question your way. Obviously, something that's top of mind for a lot of people is financial aid. How am I going to pay for this degree? And so can you help shed some light on what financial aid options are available and if what impact the pandemic has had, if any, on financial aid as a whole?
Yeah, so as far as financial aid, the biggest thing is that we encourage you to go ahead and apply. We don't know what you're eligible for until you apply, and we also have a schedule put together for you. But if you need help with that, we can help you out. You can go ahead and apply for the free application for federal student aid, otherwise known as a FAFSA, and as well as student loans. There's grants out there that you can apply for. The COVID doesn't really have an impact on financial aid, and that's still something that is available to those that are eligible for it. So we don't know if you're eligible for it until you apply. So we encourage you to go ahead and apply so that we can determine that for you.
Okay, that's great. And like you said, there are lots of options available and you don't know what you qualify for until you fill out that FAFSA. I'm seeing a question specifically about one type of financial aid, which is grants. Are there grants available that are specific to the state of Indiana or education, people pursuing an education program? What do you know about that?
Yeah, so when it comes to grants that are state-wise, once you go ahead and apply for that FAFSA application, it's going to tell financial aid what kind of eligibility it is that you have, and they'll be able to match you up with any other grants that may be available that you qualify for as well. One thing that I recommend to all my students is within the FAFSA website, if you do a search for grants, there's going to be a website called fastweb.com where you can go in there, basically create a profile of who you are, what it is that you're looking to teach professionally as well, a little bit of your background, and you'll be paired up or matched up with different grants or scholarships that the company feels that you might be eligible for. So then it'll just be on you to go ahead and complete the necessary applications. Most of these places want to make sure that you're in classes, so make sure that you look at the requirements, and if they do want you to be in classes, let's make sure that we get you registered for classes so that you can have that proof as well. The last thing we want is for you to be eligible for a grant, but then because you're not in classes, then you automatically you become ineligible, and they're going to go to the next candidate. So we just want to make sure that you look at everything that is required, that you match it, that you meet the requirements, so that you can go ahead and move forward and take advantage of that opportunity.
All right, great insight. Thanks, Pedro. Juanita, I'm going to go back to you for this next question. How much time outside of class can I expect to be working on assignments? Tell us about what that total time commitment looks like for students.
Right. So it's important to understand this is an accelerated program, as Pedro went over the different time frames for the different programs. So a lot of the courses are actually 16-week courses condensed into 8. So with that, it does increase the time commitment that you have each week. Typically, it's a 3 credit hour course. So you can say there's 3 hours worth of like coursework and then your homework, which could add another 3 hours. With reading and that kind of thing. Typically, when I talk to other faculty, we say like a 5 to 8 hour range per week for each class. So, but again, most of our classes are 8 weeks and accelerated. If it's a 16-week class, which the practicums and the internships are, and then a couple of other methods courses are, it might not be as heavy, but the 8-week courses are definitely compacted, but it's doable. And your professor is there to support you. So it's definitely doable.
And along with that, I know Pedro talked a lot about the support that students can get kind of on that enrollment and administrative side, but help us, let us know about the type of support that's available academically if students need help with classes, need tutoring, need a little nudge in another way. What sort of academic support is available to these students as they're going through their program?
Right. The best advice I have is talk to your professor. All of our instructors have been practicing teachers. They might still be practicing teachers. So they want you to be successful. You're their student. So I would always say go to your professor first. If you need additional support outside of that, St. Francis does have tutoring services available through academic support services, and they have writing support and whatever support you think you need with that. Student Services has a lot of information on that. And then Pedro reminded me the other day, you have your success coach. So you have someone specifically designed and assigned to you to help you be successful in the program. And we meet weekly with her or bi-weekly or in constant communication. So you have a lot of people on your team to help you be successful.
Okay, great insight. Thank you for that, Juanita. Pedro, I'm seeing a couple of questions about kind of prerequisites or requirements in order to be admitted into the program. So I'm hoping you can answer a couple of these. I see one that says, do you have to take the CASA exam or Praxis before being able to enter the program? Let's start with that one.
So that is no longer something that is required. Indiana went ahead and did away with that with some legislation changes back in 2019. I know that there's some other schools out there that do still look at that, but that's no longer the case for us. For us, what we want to do is make sure that you have a bachelor's degree from a regionally accredited institution, and that if you don't know if your bachelor's is from a regionally accredited institution, just let me know, or let your enrollment coach know, and we'll do the research for you and make sure that you're fine there. Along with that, depending on the program, there's a grade point average requirement. It's either 2.75 or 3.0, depending on the program. And the rest of the requirements are going to be that you have proof that you've taken either the SATs or the ACTs. And if you haven't taken those, that's fine. That's something that you can plan on taking, and we can help you out later on once you can show the proof of that you've taken those, so that you can get admitted into the program. But yeah, as far as the CASA test or the Praxis, it's not something that we're looking for any longer.
Okay, great. And you talked about the bachelor's program, people needing a bachelor degree to get into these programs. I'm seeing questions about how recent does my bachelor's need to be? Is there some sort of time or age limit? Say it's been, 10 or more years since I got my bachelor's degree. Is that going to impact my ability to be admitted?
No, not at all. I mean, well, there's a lot of people that go into a professional career and that is different from teaching. And maybe after 10 years that they have their bachelor's degree and doing work somewhere else, they feel like they want to go ahead and get into teaching. That doesn't matter. As long as you have a bachelor's degree, that's what we're looking for. It can be 10 years old, it can be 20 years old, um, but as long as you have that degree, that's something that we can definitely look into and help you move forward from there.
All right, great answers, Pedro. Thank you for that. We've got time for about a couple more questions, and so if you haven't already, be sure to utilize that Q&A function to be able to make sure that we get your questions answered. Juanita, I'm going to send this next one your way. Obviously, we focused a lot on, people enter these programs to become a teacher, but one question I'm seeing is, can I do something with this degree other than become a teacher? And so what would you say to those folks?
That's a great question. There are other career paths that you can take once you have a teaching license. Maybe that's a tutor, or maybe an agency that works with individuals with disabilities. I've seen a number of people with teaching degrees become advocates for students that are maybe marginalized and need someone to advocate for them. So there are definitely different avenues. Some of our students go on and continue their education and transition into higher ed, or they transition into education leadership. So you definitely, this could be just the beginning of what your career's landscape looks like.
All right, thanks for that, Juanita. Pedro, seeing a couple more questions that I think you'll be able to answer for us. First one is, obviously we've been really focused on Indiana. That's where University of St. Francis is based. But seeing a question, say I'm in Illinois, but I want to earn my teaching degree through University of St. Francis in Indiana. What advice would you give in terms of, is earning these, taking these classes that are so focused on Indiana standards, how's it going to work in Illinois if that's where I reside?
Yeah, so there's a term called reciprocity, where it's basically an agreement that your license can be transferable to a certain state. So my best advice for you in that case is, if you live in Illinois, I would reach out to your Department of Education and just let them know, hey, I'm working on getting my teaching license through an Indiana license program, and it would be an Indiana license. Is that something that would work for me to be able to teach in Illinois? At that point, they'll let you know, yes, it's something that we recognize, or they'll let you know, you know what, you need to go ahead and take these additional classes, or the worst case scenario is that they say no. Every state is different, so my recommendation is always to reach out to your home state, figure out what kind of requirements it is that you have, if any, or if it transfers, and see what you can do from there, and just let us know. We'll work with you as much as we can, but when it comes to the licensing question, you would have to reach out to your Department of Education and see what they tell you.
Okay, great. And I heard the word transfer in there. So this is the last question that I see here. Tell a little bit more about transfer credits. Maybe people have taken graduate level courses in the past. Can they transfer those credits to to one of these education programs in order to finish faster?
Yeah, so we have a great team in the registrar that we can go ahead and once we receive your official transcripts, we will start working on that transfer credit evaluation. The key or the one thing that you want to keep in mind is that in those classes, in order to have a higher chance of transferring, is that they need to be taken within the last 5 years. And those classes need to have a description that is very, very similar to what we have in our classes, or the classes that you're trying to transfer over. So those are the main things that we want to look at. if you took classes for an MBA program, more than likely those classes won't transfer because two different fields. So as long as it's something that that is in the same field that you're looking to transfer into, and those classes have a pretty good um, comparison to our classes, the higher there's a higher chance that that class will transfer. And again, within the last 5 years, that as long as you've taken it within the last 5 years.
Okay, great. Thank you, Pedro, and thank you, Juanita, for your insights as well. And thanks to all of you for your time and attendance and for your questions today. So one last time before we sign off, just a reminder, again, classes start on March 8th. That's coming up pretty quick. And so we would love to dig into what other questions you may have about your particular situation and help you get and stay on the road to your online education degree. So again, one more time, give us a call, 888-811-3823, or send us an email, info@online.sf.edu. And if you haven't already copy pasted those out of the chat, I'd encourage you to do that really quickly before we sign off there. We put it even there again, just to make sure that it shows up for you. And again, we will be posting this webinar on YouTube. And so once you get that link, we encourage you to share it around to anyone else that you're aware of who would be interested in pursuing an education degree online. So one last time, Juanita, Pedro, thank you so much. And thanks to all of you for joining us today. Please stay safe and have a great rest of your day and week. Take care, everybody.